If you have ever felt the weight of tension, discomfort, or even pain within your neck, or even simply found it difficult to express how you feel, you may want to watch this as we are going to venture into the deeply stored beliefs and patterning behind neck issues. Because what if that tightness or pain isn't physical at all, but the body holding back your truth that you haven't felt safe to speak? The neck is the bridge between the head and the heart, between what you think and what you feel. And when those two are at war, the body braces, guards, and protects. In this video, we are going to explore how suppression, control, and even denial are stored in the neck, and how softening this area helps you reconnect with your truth, expression, and emotional flow. When families avoided emotion or even punished honesty, silence became safety, control became protection, and the body learned to hold itself so rigid that nothing unwanted could escape. No tears, no truth, and no vulnerability. We live in a world that honors control and composure. I've already talked about this in many other videos. When we look at brainiac, for example, and other symptoms within the body, many physical symptoms have a correlation with suppression, and it is going to come down to the suppression of our true, authentic self. When we are in our authenticity, we are free to express, we are free to feel, we are free to trust, we are free to create. When we have experienced patterns in our early formative years, that freedom of self begins to diminish. We begin to build walls of protection, silencing our truth, silencing our voice, silencing our emotions, silencing our true self. And in this case of neck, you can think of the neck being one of the most vulnerable places in our entire body. And our neck is connected also with our throat chakra, the area that allows us to speak freely, that allows us to express our truth, the essence of self. But when we're young, the conduit of truth, the ability to express, becomes shut down. We tend to remain safe and protected and guarded and feel unsafe to speak our truth, to maybe share our emotions, be vulnerable, be soft. Emotions can equal pain and can equal disaster from long ago, as the neck can be seen almost as the gatekeeper or the conduit between the heart, the higher self, the emotional self, and the mind, the knowing. The neck almost becomes a battleground between what the heart feels and the mind knows, unable to express either, therefore silencing and shutting down, or even expressing out of emotional reflex or emotional reaction. In one of my previous videos, I also talked about the locked-in heart, about how we can be very removed from fluid and open communication. Speaking from our heart can feel like one of the most vulnerable things to do. Sharing what we know based on our inner truth and our inner knowing can also be very hard to do. Again, the throat, the neck is the conduit for communication. It can, again, also block in the same if we do not feel safe and comfortable to express, to speak from our truth without obstructions, without worry, without feeling that we are going to be shamed or judged or attacked, or even in some cases, as we're going to explore, a method and mode of denial, denying our ability to see the truth within life if reality once had felt unsafe, or if the family also did the same. In this video, we are going to be breaking this down into behavioral characteristics, looking at the behavioral patterns that will be associated with neck problems. We're also going to be looking at the origin cause, where this came from in the first place. We're going to be looking at the false beliefs that have been created, and then true beliefs to counter the false beliefs. And then finally, at the end, we're going to look at how to heal. These are all very light sections. If you would like to go deeper into this topic and understand your body a little bit more, your patterns and your beliefs and what is under the surface, you can follow the link in the description area below to the Odyssey of Self, as I just uploaded a podcast episode and written article all about the neck and the patterns within. First, we're going to look at behavioral characteristics. This work also is taken from the work of Dr. Michael Lincoln, Messages from the Body, who spent 30 years deep in research analyzing the correlation between the beliefs, mental patterning, emotional patterning as well, and the body. How our body is our final communication warning center. And by creating awareness within our own patterns, within our deeper selves, we can heal the physical manifestations, the physical symptoms, simply by illuminating what we haven't been able to see before. When we hold on to our emotions, when we hold on to our thoughts and we aren't able to see them in the truth that they are, they will remain within our deeper self, within our unconscious mind. And it is within our mind where we truly begin to heal and transform. It's bringing the unconscious aspects within our unconscious mind into the conscious level of awareness. And that is when the big shifts start to happen. So behavioral characteristics are behaviors that are going to be commonly associated with neck issues. Now, you don't necessarily have to have neck issues, by the way, for these to resonate with you. If you are having a difficult time expressing yourself, if you are having a difficult time connecting with your emotions, or if the mind is getting in the way of fluid, I would say, movement of feelings, vulnerability, expression, thought, this whole network that we have within ourselves, is if this is disrupted, you may want to pay attention to some of these behavioral patterns and the origin causation, of course, to see how this can resonate with you and where some of these patterns can be broken. The first behavioral characteristic will be when one feels tension or pressure in the neck or throat when holding back words, truth, or emotion. There could be struggle to express needs, opinions, or vulnerability, often defaulting to control, compliance, or avoidance. An individual may appear composed or in control, but may feel trapped, misunderstood, or disconnected inside. And then finally, an individual may judge emotional expression within oneself or others as weakness or chaos. During my years of chipping away at these layers and these patterns, from being very protected and very guarded, reacting when I felt emotionally unsafe or uncomfortable, I would either shut down my communication or it would come out in a very rigid, very pushy, very aggressive way. The more I have softened around the edges by dropping some of these false beliefs and these layers of protection and wanting to have everything controlled and wanting my words to be perfect even, or reacting unconsciously to some emotional discomforts, has allowed for my words to flow even more, has allowed for my words to soften, and has also allowed my body to relax when I speak and also relax when I feel. So my emotions have found a way and have found their balance within, more or less, therefore allowing for greater communication and vulnerability to be shared. When we are vulnerable, it can unconsciously make us feel very uncomfortable because it reminds us of maybe pain from the past or something difficult that has happened, maybe punishment, for example. So it's very difficult for people to be vulnerable, to share from their heart and to express. And it doesn't mean that we need to be an open book. It just means that we can feel safe simply being around people, having a conversation, not being offended, not being reactive, and also delivering information and speaking to others in a very smooth and relaxed way. Vulnerability is not about being 100% open and sharing everything and feeling like you have to. Vulnerability is simply feeling safe in your truth, to be who you are. And to be who you are can feel vulnerable, especially if your authenticity and your truth had been punished in the past or suppressed in any kind of way. Next, we're going to look at the origin cause. And origin cause is going right to the very source of where this pattern started. Where did this complication start? And when we look at the family systems, we can look at patterns being passed down. We can look at patterns that we have lived by through maybe punishment, suppression, any kind of difficulties. When we go into this work and looking at the origin cause, it's not about looking at our family as flawed and blaming them because this is passed down. They have lived through this. We're all carrying patterns of this in one form or another, especially when it comes to being our authentic self, especially regarding communication. I feel communication needs more attention than it's actually getting, because communication is connecting us with our true self, with our authenticity of how we express from our heart, from our truth, our ability to see the truth in reality and speak the truth, our ability to connect with our truth and our purity and our love and acceptance that we have within ourselves. This area here is extremely powerful, and I feel one of the most suppressed areas within, I would say, the majority of humanity. Majority of people do not feel comfortable speaking their truth. They do not feel comfortable in open, fluid dialogue, do not feel comfortable maybe doing something like this. It took me a long time to be comfortable doing this. And I feel this is one of the areas we have here, heart, throat, mind, that we can work with that will truly begin to set ourselves free. So when we look at the origin cause, this is not about, again, blaming our family, although blame, shame, anger, sadness, grief can arise through this work. And if you feel it, it's beautiful, sit with it, and maybe even see what those emotions are trying to show you about something that hasn't been seen before. The more illumination that we shine on our hidden aspects of self, the emotions, the unseen, we get to work through and be more of ourself as a result. We get to free ourselves of these limitations that have held us back and that have caused great inner turmoil and fracturing of self. So the origin cause will come from the family. It will come from society. It will come from culture. It will come from observations, feelings, and senses that we have accumulated and experienced throughout our formative years. So the first one is going to be growing up in a denial-dominated or perfectionistic environment where families avoided emotional truth, emphasizing control and appearances over authenticity. The next is being raised in an authoritarian or rigid upbringing. Obedience and performance were valued more than honesty or feeling, leading to internalized restraint and fear of expression. And finally, being raised with fear-based conditioning. This has created a deep-seated belief that letting go or speaking up will cause conflict, loss, or disgrace. This is a societal systemic issue, and it's going to continue until we shine light on this and can do our part to heal ourselves and to break these patterns within. The majority of society, especially in our Western culture, is very disconnected from the emotional self. And I'm going to keep talking about this on my channel here because it is one of between the emotions and the spiritual self, the most disconnected aspect of ourself in mostly our Western modern society. We feel more comfortable not talking about our emotions because there's been discomfort created around them. Therefore, we avoid them. We opt for talking about work and status and things and objects and lists and accomplishments. But yet, a very significant part of ourself is being suppressed and not paid attention to throughout the process. And if we're not paying attention to one of the most vital aspects of ourself, then naturally there are going to be many complications that will arise as a result. So families avoid the truth because the truth can be painful. Many generations have been raised in a society where status and family perfectionism was the most important aspect of living, of being. Obedience and performance is simply a morphed expression of control, wanting things to be perfect and acceptable in the eyes of society, in the eyes of our family, etc. And as a result, we have a deeply ingrained belief that it is not safe or okay to speak our truth, to connect with who we truly are, and to be vulnerable. Next, we're looking at the false beliefs with true beliefs to counter. As a recap, false beliefs are formed based on experiences that are not in alignment with our true authentic self, with our purest sense of self. We are born into a family, into patterning, into a system, into cultural influences, societal expectations, etc. We morph and adjust to all of those external experiences. When we're young, we're not taught how to properly understand what's happening around us or to us. So we adjust to those experiences. But the more we adjust to those experiences and to other people's beliefs and other people's expectations and other people's patterns and other experiences that we can go through and influences, we lose more of ourself. Every time we adjust and morph to someone else, to something else, we lose more of ourself. We become more disconnected from ourself because we're trying to adjust and fit in to something that isn't part of our true self, to be safe, to feel secure, to try to understand and make sense of the world around us. But again, the more we adjust and morph to the external, we lose more of ourself. We lose more of the connection to our true self. So the false beliefs are comprised of these experiences that we have deeply ingrained within ourselves that feel true because we've lived with them for our whole life, but they are creating a deep fracturing within ourselves, a deep fragmentation of self. True beliefs are our true self. They are our pure beliefs. They are right at the center, the core of our soul, of our heart. The false beliefs overshadow the true beliefs. We peel away the false beliefs one by one, and our true self becomes awakened. Right? We become more of our true self. We feel more confident expressing our truth. We feel more confident sharing our ideas, ourself. We feel more confident in interpersonal relationships. We feel more confident with the flow, natural rhythm of life. So the first false belief that has been created is I must stay in control to be safe. The true belief to counter is I am safe to release control and allow life to unfold. The other false belief is it's safer not to see, speak, or feel. The true belief is going to be I can see, feel, and express truth without fear. And the final false belief is if I let go, everything will fall apart. The true belief in alignment with your true, pure, authentic self is when I soften, I strengthen. Next, we're going to look at how to heal. These are very light, gentle steps that you can integrate into your daily routine, into your daily practice. In here, I haven't listed the number one always, and that is going to be awareness. So awareness is going to be number one for all of this. Awareness leads us into understanding our blocks, our limitations, our fears, how our body responds, our thought patterns, our emotions. Awareness turns our lens from outward into our inner self, into understanding our inner, deeper self, and being able to connect these patterns for illumination and for healing, for becoming more of our true self. Awareness also leads us to our whole being, to our self-actualized and transcendent self. When we're able to see our whole self, the parts that we often deny, hide, ignore, suppress, we set ourselves free from the mechanisms of safety and control, right? We are allowing ourselves to see aspects of ourselves that we haven't seen before. And it is the way through those aspects that we are going to find more of ourself. With regards to the neck, there can be denial, not wanting to look at certain aspects of reality or certain truths. Now, there can be also a caveat with this one in particular, is the avoidance of seeing the truth of ourselves and going with them. I've talked about this in the past where there can be a splintering effect when we dip into our unconscious mind. Our unconscious mind, just as a recap, is connected with our psyche, with our higher self. It also has a relationship with our ego. It also holds the relationship with our shadow. It also is connected with our intuition, dreams, and the collective unconscious. So when we are dipping into an aspect of ourself that we haven't explored before, we're naturally going to access parts of ourself that we have shut off, that we have locked away and shoved down because it reminds us of the pain, the suffering. And even if you want to really get into past stories long ago, being connected with our deeper mind, which is connected to our higher self, our psyche, intuition, the understanding the great mysteries of existence, was punished, right? So you can think of that even historically, and the bloodlines that have carried the pain and the suffering and the beliefs through to today, where it's not safe to speak. It's not safe to see the truth because the truth is punishment. And that also does lock down the relationship with our unconscious mind. It shuts it down completely. So in order for us to see the truth and to look through our illusions and to be honest and real with ourselves, we may have to splinter the barrier between our subconscious and our conscious mind to our unconscious mind. And that can result maybe in psychosis, that can result maybe in losing our sense of reality. I'm not going to get too far into it. I suggest watching my video on psychosis or do your own research, whatever you feel comfortable with. But there could be a resistance to exploring deeper self, or there can be a resistance to seeing reality in the truth that it is. Our unconscious mind holds the deeper patterning that perpetuates these cycles without our awareness, right? We do this unknowingly. So it may take a bit of guidance. It may take a little bit of time. It may be also uncomfortable to enter this area. So take your time with it. Be open and curious and be gentle with yourself through the process. So one of the stages for how to heal is going to be relax the control center. Bring awareness to the neck and throat throughout the day. Breathe into tension, visualizing it softening and lengthening with each exhale. Practice truth in small ways. You can do this by speaking honestly, even when your voice shakens. You can even share what's real rather than what's expected. And integrate heart and head. Notice when you're overthinking or analyzing instead of feeling. Let your breath bridge the two. Thought and emotion, logic and intuition. And most of all, remember, your silence protected you when you needed it the most. And now it's time to let your truth flow. And if you would like to go deeper into this topic and explore the meaning behind neck issues, or even understand some of the beliefs that are preventing you from feeling comfortable expressing your truth, your feelings, your deeper self, you can find us over at the Odyssey of Self, where we go deeper into this. There's also guided meditation to work on this area specifically within the latest episode of The Neck. I'm wishing you all the best, as always, on your journey of self. Until next time, I will see you again very soon, and take care.